Saxon Math Course 2, we are in Lesson 48 today, found on page 342. Today we're going to be dealing with something called fractions, decimal, and percent equivalents, and all three of these things, okay, are similar. They're the same quantity, meaning the same number, but they're different languages. A fraction is a ratio. Decimal obviously has got decimal points, and a percentage is based off of 100. So I'm going to give you this object right up here. Okay, it's a little circle cut in half. What's the fraction of this? There's two parts, so obviously we have, if one is filled in, we have 1/2. Well, what's the decimal of 1/2? Well, we know that it's 0.5 or 0.5. And we also know that a percent, that's 50%. So today the challenge is to go and to communicate from these three and figure out what they are if we only have one of them. Okay? So let's look at a couple of examples that you see. First of all, example 1 says find the percent, or write 7/10 as a percent. Well, we know that 7, if we turn this into a percentage, we would have to multiply and get the bottom as 100. So let's do that. What did we do to get that? We multiplied by 10. Okay? And so if we multiplied, or take that back, let's redo this. 7 over 10. Do it the way they do it. They multiply by 100% on top, which gives you 700 over 10. Well, this division problem right here of 10 divided into 700 is only 70, right? So the answer to that is 70, can't write, percent. We also know that this is a microcosm of like 70 over 100, which is a percentage. So if we just move the decimal over one more time and add zeros to each one of those, we can get the same thing. That's not a hard concept. Let's do example B, or excuse me, example 2, where they give a fraction of 2/3 and say write that as a percent. How do we do that? Well, notice what happens. If we want to get to a percent, we have to multiply it by 100% over 1, which means that we have 200% over 3. All right, because this 100% is over 1, we multiply straight across. So now we want to turn that into a fraction. Okay, so we have to divide. And we know that 3 goes into 20 6 times. And we know that it's going to keep giving us 18, which means that it's going to keep giving us these decimals. Okay, so 66.6%. All right. Or in your textbook, they recognize and they show this 66. If it's 0.6, that's equivalent to the fraction 2/3. If it was 66.3, it would be the equivalent of 1/3. Okay, so we could say 66.6% or 66 and 2/3%. That's how we come up with our answer. All right. Next one, example 3, gives us a decimal number, 0.8, and it says convert that into a percent. If you ask me, these are the easiest, because if we have a decimal and we're going to a percent, all we have to do is move the decimal over 2 spots and add a 0 and then the percent. So no longer is the decimal there. 0.8 equals 80%. Those are the easiest. Okay. An example 4, what example 4 is a combination of all the things that we just did, where we're filling in and using one number. Okay, for instance, if you look at the first blank or boxes, okay, I'm only going to do the first one. It gives 1/3, and the second box you're supposed to find the decimal. The third box you're supposed to find the percent. All right, how do we find the decimal of 1/3? Well, we do a division problem. How many times does 3 go into 10? Well, it's 3. So it's going to be 0.33 repeating, right? And we know that because it's just going to keep giving us that. All right, so here's our decimal, 0.33 repeating. Okay, and then how do we get a percentage of that? What is 0.33 as a percent? Well, we know that if we have 0.33, and if we want to get a decimal, and I should put 3, we move it over and it would be 33, and then if it's 3, it would be 1/3%. Okay, so there's our two answers based on just the fraction 1/3. And again, you can work backwards if you have this one, or it doesn't matter which one you have. You can find the answers pretty easily. So that's our lesson today. I think you'll find that relatively easy and easily achievable. So there's lesson 48, getting close to 50. So that's exciting, and hopefully you guys do well in your lesson today.